Hey, I'm George Strange, creator of the ThinkWell podcast, where my beautiful partner Laura and I co-host the podcast and dive deep into the world of wellness and healthy thinking. I'm super excited for our podcast today because we are going to be talking to an incredible holistic practitioner and friend, Leslie Weir. Leslie is a holistic nutritionist, a yoga teacher, and a moon mama who helps women move from feeling scattered to soul aligned by teaching them how to live in rhythm with their own energy. After hitting a wall with her health and feeling disconnected by traditional wellness trends, Leslie discovered a path back to herself by tuning into her inner seasons, the moon phases, and the natural world. This journey became the inspiration for her community, Cycles and Seasons, a sacred space where she guides women through embodied astrology and nourishing rituals to help them confidently express their true selves. Members of Cycles and Seasons meet on the new and full moons, as well as each equinox and solstice, to create meaningful embodied rituals that align their body and energy with the seasons. My connection with Leslie goes beyond this podcast. Leslie and I have worked together on numerous projects where I've had the pleasure of witnessing her growth. I'm privileged to have walked a small part of her journey with her over the past few months. So I wanted to sit down with Leslie and have a meaningful conversation. We went back to our schedules and figured out a time. We locked in the date for the podcast. Unfortunately, 1 hour was not enough. We were only able to scratch the surface of her amazing teachings. So we'll have to have her back soon. But without further ado, let me introduce you to a wonderful holistic practitioner, a beautiful soul. Here is Leslie. We can start with how you got started with this, what your personal journey has been that has led to where you are today in terms of yoga and your teachings, right?
Yeah, sounds great. So for me, yoga has been it's interesting when I look back because it's actually been in my life for a long time. And it's always come to me in these like pivotal moments. And I hear a lot of people share similar stories. Like they go through a big life event. They're going through a breakup, a divorce, a death, so many different things that like bring people to the mat. And my story is pretty similar. So about 11 years ago, I discovered yoga and I honestly can't remember how, but I went and I was going through a big breakup at the time. I was quite young, but it was still a heartbreak. And I worked at a yoga retreat for 3 weeks in Costa Rica. So I kind of got like a deep dive into that whole world, which was beautiful. And that was like my initiation into the world. And then since then, it's been weaved in and out of my life. And about 5 years ago, I guess when COVID 2020 happened, I went through another big breakup and it brought me right back to my mat and it got me so in my body again. And I didn't realize just how disconnected I was at the time. Yoga is so beautiful for that because it truly gets you to slow down, tune in, feel into your body, your hips. Like as a woman, I feel like I was pretty disconnected with that concept of like, fluidity and your spine and breathing into your hips, your belly, your chest. Right. So, and ever since that happened, 5 years ago or so, it's been like my bestie. It's been like my go-to thing when things are going through some like turmoil or going through a tough time. And it wasn't until just before I lost my corporate job, I had this pivotal moment, like, I want to make more money. I want to be doing something else that's like intriguing to me because the corporate world was getting a little bit, boring for me, to be honest. Even though I was kind of doing what I loved, it was still I wanted something else. So I signed up for a yoga teacher training and oddly enough, I paid for it, was super excited, bought all the books. And then it was a solar eclipse the night before. The night before it was supposed to start, I got an email saying that the studio is closing down. I'm so sorry. We have to completely cancel the training.
Oh my God.
And this is like, it's an expensive training. You buy books, it's like 6 months of your life that you're kind of dedicated. So it was just like snatched for me, like just like that, which eclipses totally do that to life, which is just wild. And so that original studio that I was supposed to do my training at connected me with another local girl who I had never heard of before. Her name is Allie. And I truly think it was so divine that I wasn't supposed to train at the one studio and that I was supposed to train with this teacher, because she taught so different than this other studio was going to. Mm-hmm. Her philosophy, she was so slow and so juicy with it, and really dived way more deeper into the spirituality behind yoga that this other studio wasn't highlighting and wasn't going to go even into. So I truly think for me and my path and my journey, I was supposed to that was supposed to happen and shift. And, honestly, ever since I kind of graduated from that program, it's been like a snowball effect of success, I would say, in my yoga career, which is pretty awesome to kind of reflect back on. But that was my long-winded story.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I guess you can relate to that, being a yoga teacher as well, how you discover it kind of thing instead of,
Yeah, I find yoga finds you. Actually, fun fact, I was going through a tough time myself, as you were, Leslie. Not a breakup, but more of a family matter. And I just remember I felt so overwhelmed, so burnt out. And I thought, you know what? There's a new studio. I want to go check it out. I just want to go practice some Pilates. I wasn't there for yoga. I was there for Pilates. And then lo and behold, the class starts. And I realized, oh, this is not Pilates. This is yoga. But I felt so good. And I just remember after that class saying, this is what I have to do. So, yeah, I find that yoga finds us, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. And pivots are necessary, right? So I think that as we have life experience, we realize that we don't hold on to, this is how it had to be, right? So pivots, it's like, okay, eclipse, pivots, here I am, right?
Totally. So. It was like a let go of the wheel moment, honestly. I was so upset, and then I was so like, okay, there's got to be something else, like background work happening here.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, it's interesting because it seems like the most profound changes and benefits that we get from these changes are due to a really deep transformation, not just a change, right? So I often talk about, when you work with clients, sometimes you can guide them and you can get them to achieve their health goals, which is one thing. But when you see a client or somebody or yourself for that matter, go through a profound transformation, that changes everything, right? Your perspective completely changes. And then from that point on, it's not about just achieving certain goals, but now you're in a permanent state of change, I guess, right? And you've been able to embrace change. I like that you mentioned there the eclipse, and I wanted to get into that. You describe yourself as a moon mama. I love that. Mm-hmm. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that, what, your relationship, I guess, with Grandmother Moon, and how you see that and how that influences what you teach.
Yeah, so similarly, in 2020, I got into astrology, right? Big breakup moment. I was like, who am I? What am I doing? I'm not in my body. The world is crumbling, okay?
Right.
So I don't even remember how I stumbled on astrology. It was probably my Instagram feed, to be honest. And it's always been interesting to me. Like, I think everyone's kind of curious what their horoscope says, or, they want to see if it connects to their life in some sort of way. And maybe that was like the moment for me. And then I did some sort of deep dive. I went onto astroseek.com, which is, I recommend everyone going on that website. It's so well thought out, and you can pull up your transit chart and your birth chart and all of this good stuff. So I remember looking up my birth chart and like printing it out, and it's pages and pages of like your sun sign, your moon sign, your Venus, your Mars, all this stuff. Quite over my head at the time, but reading through it, I like broke down into tears, being like, so this is why I'm like this. This is why this happened. And it was so nice for me going through what I was going through to have that to kind of attach to in a way, so that I could work through my shit, right. So that I could see my flaws, so that I could see what was going on, external influences and how I was reacting to them, and then be able to actually like action on it and work through my stuff. So again, it was like a big breakup, the 2020 era for me, where I just kind of dove in head first, and I've been self-studying. So I've never done like a course or a certification or anything like that. Probably will in the future because it can get quite complex, but yeah, I've gotten such a good grasp on it. And the moon is just such a beautiful, devotional mama moon up there. So
Right.
yeah, I've been fascinated with it ever since, honestly.
Yeah. It's so cool. I mean, the moon is so powerful, right? It's just, it impacts so many aspects of our lives. And when we talk about cycles, right, the moon definitely has, a big role to play there, right? I was just wondering as well, how you see that impacts our lives, like daily lives, for example. And I think I mentioned to you earlier that the part of the cycle of the moon, sometimes I feel like I'm super energetic and it kind of gives me energy and I feel super sharp and invincible almost, right? And then there are times when I'm completely drained and I feel like I need to reinvent myself. And that's actually towards the end of the cycle, right? And so it's really interesting because I went through something really interesting in the latest, I guess, the full moon, right? Which was a few days ago. And I was really drained, but I also felt like I was lost. And one day, all of a sudden, I got into a really deep, kind of taking a look at my life. And it was really weird because I don't usually think of, times when I was a kid and when I was a teenager and so on, right? And this kind of pushed me to do that. And I was a little freaked out, actually, a little bit, because it's like, what's going on? Am I going to die or something? That my whole life is flashing in front of my eyes. But it led me to a place of recognizing that, or at least that's how I interpreted it, that it was time for something new, right? And that new had to include also everything, like my life trajectory, right? We cannot, it's my belief that we cannot like just will change without including, our entire trajectory, right? Because we continue to evolve, right?
Totally.
So I wanted to get your take on that and the sort of the impact that the moon has on changes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so the moon governs like our emotions, our intuition, our conscious, but also our subconscious, right? So that's where all those thought process can resurface, especially during a full moon, because that's like the peak moment. It's like a culmination. It's like a climax almost. So in your head internally, you're like getting flooded with all these different scenarios or memories or thoughts. And you're like, whoa, this is all so complex. Like, where is this coming from? But Mama Moon, I'd be really curious to see where the moon was falling in your specific birth chart on that full moon. Because there's different houses in astrology. There's 12 houses, and these houses are almost like different subjects in life. So there's like a career one, there's a money, there's home life, marriage, all these different houses. And maybe I can share a link with you so you can either pop it up on the screen or your audience can do a little bit of a deeper dive there. But depending on where the moon is falling, that's actually the area that you can like hyper focus on to create some change. So to journal on, to do a deep dive on, to do a brain dump in. So if yours was falling in, let's just say the 10th house of careers, and it's coming up to the full moon, maybe something in your career or along that trajectory of that house is coming to a climax, is coming to a peak moment, or there's like a culmination of activity happening there. I'm hoping that this is making sense because astrology can get so kind of confusing really quick, and I want to keep it super grounded.
Yeah, so far it's making sense. Yeah. It's really clear.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
The way you explain it is very clear too.
Okay, good. So the way that I kind of like work with the moon too is that the moon has its phases, right? So new moon, full moon, half moon, this sort of thing. But it also has the zodiac sign in which it's falling in. And so this zodiac sign also influences the different energies and moods to the full moon. So it gives it like an extra flavor. So this past full moon was a full moon in Aquarius. So Aquarius is all about AI. It's all about the collective communities. It's not very personal. It's more everything else going on and not having an emotional attachment to it. Aquariuses are really known for that. So you look at the moon, you see like where the moon is falling in its phase, you see what zodiac sign it's in, and then you can pull up your birth chart and see where specifically is that moon in that sign falling for me, like what house. And it'll give you so much insight as to like what's going on for you. And it's crazy how magical and true and accurate this can be. So that's like how I work with it. Like in my daily practice, especially on the new and the full moons, I'll find where it's hitting in my birth chart, because that'll be an area that I can like specifically tap into to do the inner work, to do the deeper work, maybe some shadow work, maybe it's mirror work, maybe it's putting myself out there, maybe it's scripting. Like there's so many different methods and ways you can work within that frame. Right. But yeah, it's just so juicy. It's just so interesting to me.
Yeah, the moon phases are fascinating, I find.
Yeah.
I know, so I learned a little bit about Jyotish, which is the Ayurvedic astrology. It's very complex. I mean, we did a full course and my brain was just constantly exploding. But it was really interesting to hear about, like, with the full moon, in essence, with Ayurveda, the full moon is a good time to remove what's no longer serving you and start doing the work for the new moon, right? So there's so much emphasis on the full moon. And with Ayurveda, with the Jyotish, I think it's 13 houses, so it's a little different. But yeah, each of them have houses too. So yeah, just like the wellness wheel, the financial, career, family, relationships, your house.
That's like the wellness wheel that we talk about so much,
It is
right?
very similar. So yeah, I'm always fascinated about that. And it's interesting because just like George was saying, sometimes the full moon, I'm ready to get creative and I'm doing this and I'm rearranging furniture and I'm doing all kinds of stuff. And sometimes I'm just like, I just can't get out of bed. This is too much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I find it so fascinating. And I'm always of the belief that the moon does affect us, because when we look at, we live by the lake too, and we'll see the tides getting pretty aggressive, and it's usually around the full moon, right? Or unless there's a storm. Even the new moon, we'll notice a little bit of aggression in the waves, right? So for me, I find it really interesting because we're made up of mainly water too, right? So there's got to be some physical, emotional,
that's a really good,
energetic thing there. So
I was just going to say too, it's been like scientifically proven. If you ask people that work at prisons, if in hospitals, these like big centers, even retirement homes, there's going to be more chaos, I could use as a word, or more disruption or more events that happen on the full moon. So you're right, like the body is made up of mostly water. We are directly impacted by that shift. And it's just cool to have some scientific background that like we are truly affected by it and its vibration is so strong. So I just want to add that in there, that like it's been proven that like this like it heightens people, but
and just anecdotally, we saw a lot of crazy shit going down in our neighborhood, right? People having all kinds of issues and strange things happening, right? People behaving in different ways. And we noticed that, right? And we're thinking, okay, this has got to be the full moon. But I love that you touched on science there, because we all know that science is great. You have a background in holistic nutrition. There's a great deal of science behind that, of course. Our nutrition. We've been talking about this in previous podcasts as well. The one thing that I like to talk about is, so we have all the benefits of science. However, science sometimes has had a negative impact on ancient traditions. For example, astrology and yoga and Ayurveda. And so if it doesn't pass the scientific kind of lens, then it's seen as something that's not really important. It's something that's made up. It's something that's fake. It's something that doesn't have a lot of value for us right in our lives. And that's completely missing the mark, right? These ancient systems, like yoga itself, is something that so many people embrace, but we haven't gotten to the point, I guess, where we are at that point where we continue to dismiss a lot of the ancient practices, right? I love that somebody like you and somebody like Laura can embrace these ancient practices, right? That are so connected to nature. And we can certainly, as you said, we can certainly find the science in it. But yeah, I'm wondering if you can, discuss a little bit of, the sort of the misconceptions about astrology. And a lot of it is seen as like woo-woo stuff, and but I like the way that you've been, that you work with it, and then you've been talking about it. So I wonder if you can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, for sure. It's so interesting because these ancient traditions keep circling back. There's a common thread. They keep on resurfacing. They'll become trendy again, then maybe fall off. And they've been here throughout the test of time, and they keep coming back. So it's ingrained in us almost to circle back to these things because they work, because they ground us, because they keep us in tuned. So yeah, I think even Laura, you'd probably know much more about this, but I remember my yoga teacher was saying that I think we're still in like a very Vata time period. So like a lot of AI, everything's fast moving, it's very airy. So Vata is like, you'd probably be so much better at describing this than me, but it's like that quick change. It's a little bit daisy and like out there. But after Vata season comes Kapha season. So Kapha season grounds you right back down. It's hard moving, it's earthy, it's grounded, it's like earth energy almost. It's hard to move, and it's community based. It's getting back to farming. Yeah. It's like all these really good things that we need so badly right now. And it's so reflected in society, right? We're so Vata, we're so AI, we're so fast moving, we're airplanes flying through the sky, spraying sprays on the earth. Like we're so Vata right now. But my hope, and according to Ayurveda, we are going to be coming back into a Kapha. Yeah. And I think there's little trails of this that you'll see online, regenerative farming's coming back, and more community-based memberships, Hello Cycles and Seasons, and more podcasts. Like people are wanting to come back to what is working and what is real, and I feel like that's where these ancient traditions are gonna like have their moment again, and that's what's gonna help to ground us.
Absolutely. Yeah. I see that happening more and more. There's a bigger trend right now, at least with my algorithms. Obviously it's probably by design, but just even aside from what I see in my algorithms of Ayurveda and yoga, and people being very much interested, regenerative farming, as you mentioned, community, that is very important to people. And even to people that I've known for many years that weren't into that, they just thought, man, that's a lot of woohoo, silliness. They're very much into that now, right? So it's not necessarily about chasing the money, chasing the career, getting that corporate job, holding on to it, climbing that ladder anymore. I find a lot of people are very much in tune with, I want to grow my own food. I want to have my community. Right now, the dream of so many people, including myself, maybe with you too, is having land and growing our food, and living in a small area with lots of fruit trees, and just have a community around. Right, that's the dream.
It is the dream. It is redefining community as well. Right?
It is,
not from the point of view of consumer society. Subdivisions and suburbs and that sort of thing. It's redefining community. It's redefining the engineering of these communities, right? And how we're, doing urban planning and so on, right? So, some cities probably around the world, maybe I'm thinking like the Netherlands, places like that, have a bit of an advantage, and as far as, comparing to North America, but it's so necessary to redefine some of those concepts that have been lost, I think.
And I think politically it's helping. I know right now a lot of people are upset with the political forecast right now, but I think it's encouraging people to think outside society, right? What we're told, this is what you're supposed to do from this age to this age, and this is what you do. You go grocery shopping, you buy your clothes, you buy this. You have to go to it's just the way society has been, I guess, defined for us. A lot of people are redefining it for sure.
But it's a very linear path, right?
Yeah, and we're not linear.
When we're talking about cycles, we're talking about circles, basically, right?
Yeah.
And I love that you said that everything comes back. I don't know how you said it, but it was really cool the way you said it, because I'm even seeing it, you touched on the political, right? other political views and political ideologies sometimes come back, to counter whatever, the main narrative is. Mm-hmm. And we see that today. And I see that today people are starting to embrace things like, in the 70s, for example, there was a resurgence of an awareness of indigenous peoples, right? Not just from the point of view that these are nice people that got ripped off many centuries ago, but understanding more the way that they organize around community and how they understand the world, right? Because there's like a void, right? We can't find meaning in the current state of things, right? And we know that these, again, the ancient traditions, we call them ancient, but as you said, they're always there. It's just a matter of us tapping into them, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting. So even, in my membership that I'm starting, a lot of it is based in a lot of these ancient traditions. So I do yoga, we do breath work, it's holistic nutrition, which is just getting people's hands in the dirt and getting connected with their food again.
Nice.
And I'm so passionate about it, and I get so excited when I talk about it because it's also that community aspect, and it is mostly for women. It is a women's-based community, and it is online. So I feel like it's incorporating all these different things that people need so much of right now. And I'm hoping that people like me, people like you, we're opening the doors for these conversations so that even through this deep programming of society that's gone on and is going on, people are going to get these little snippets that might resonate with them. There's going to be some sort of little thread that gets pulled, and then it's just going to spiral from there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just about talking about it and connecting with people, right? Like that is the point of community. It's how we thrive as humans.
That's true. I'm curious about your Lionsgate. What's that all about? I read a little bit about it, but I would love to hear our audience hear about that. That was so intriguing.
Yeah. Okay, so the Lionsgate portal is something that happens on August 8th. So it has a lot to do with numerology, to be honest, but it's connected with astrology, Egyptian history, as well as the star Sirius in the sky, is known as the spiritual sun. And when it comes into contact with our sun, so when they're conjunct, so when they're together in the sky, when they're both in the sign of Leo, it's super, super strong. You pretty much have like two suns shining down their energy on Earth. Mm-hmm. And back in the day, in Egyptian times and in the Egyptian history, I might be butchering this story, so I don't know.
All good.
You're good.
Okay. A flood happened on this day. So on this specific day, somewhere that had not had water for forever, just got a huge flood. So it was like a big gift. It was like the heavens sent down exactly what they were looking for. So that is the history of it. There's also some astrology, like I mentioned, coming together there on the 8-8. There's also some numerology. So 8 is really signifying balance. It's that infinity symbol. But what was interesting this year, so there is a portal of time when we're in Leo season. You get this like burst of sun. You get this like burst of energy and great manifestation energy. But on August 12th, Venus and Jupiter came together in the sky, and those are both very expansive, loving, beneficial planets. Jupiter expands things. Jupiter expands your minds, expands your wallets, gives you money. Like, it's the abundant planet, and it came together with the loving planet of beauty, of riches, of sexuality, of attraction, and they came together. And so if you think about what those themes are, how beautiful on that day to go and manifest, to go buy your lottery tickets, to go on a date, whatever you're kind of like working through in those terms and those themes to kind of do on that day. So the Lionsgate portal is this time period where you can really zone in on your manifestations. And it just so happens that the sky and astrology and numerology are kind of like working in your favor in a sense. So Love it's that 8-8, right? August is the 8th month of the year on the 8th day. Neat. So it's a potent time.
That is so cool because that brings a lot of order into somebody's thinking, I would think, right? So for example, we're always thinking about these things, right? Trying to manifest, trying to plan, trying to, feel better, be happier, whatever it is, right? But we're doing it sometimes in a way, if we don't have a good understanding of those things that you mentioned, right? Astrology and all that, then we tend to be all over the place, right? And that's something that I like how you describe your practices. Sometimes people are scattered, like scattered minds, right? It's something similar to what I do. I try to get people to refocus on, an appropriate type of thinking. So I wanted you to talk a little bit more about that, how you're able to bring that together for your clients, your participants, or your members, and try to bring a little bit of order using these methods or traditions you're talking about.
Yeah, so maybe the best way of doing it would be walking you through an example. So this is how I work with it in my membership. I break it down so that, yes, you're looking at the moon phase, the zodiac sign, what's going on out there, so that internally you can be like, this is what I should be focusing on. Because you're right, like throughout the year, you want to be manifesting, you want to be calling stuff in, but you also need to be like letting shit go and doing the cord cutting and working on shadow work or maybe mirror work. So there's specific times throughout your lifetime and throughout the year that you can kind of harness specific energy. So the Lion's Gate, for example, again, is just that really potent time to be manifesting. But I'll give it a specific example because it's something that's coming up. It's a 4-day free integration that I'm doing as part of like a lead into my membership. So we have a solar eclipse happening in Virgo on September 21st. So Virgo, the sign, the zodiac sign, is actually ruled by the planet Mercury. People probably know Mercury because you see all over Instagram, like Mercury's in the microwave or like Mercury's retrograde. And it messes with technology. Like that's just such a common one that pops up. But Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication, of thinking, the greater mind, of it's very service oriented in a sense. So we take in membership, so it's a new moon. It's also a solar eclipse. Solar eclipse just amplifies everything about 100. It's in Virgo. Virgo is a very, again, service oriented sign. It's very analytical. It's very critical. And then we take Mercury. So Mercury is also known for its intellect, its communication. So then what I do with that information is, okay, so what chakra systems in the body does Mercury represent or does it relate to? So if you're familiar with chakra systems, they're kind of like energy centers in the body that all represent different things. You can think of your body almost like a highway. And these energy centers are kind of like those roundabouts, those like circle moments you have to go with your car. That's how I envision the chakras in the body. So with Mercury being communication oriented, I think of throat chakra, right? So how can we kind of be activating our throat chakra? This is where I integrate the yoga. So with yoga, it's so correlated to the chakra systems. There's specific poses, there's specific sequences that you can do to activate these centers and also to, I don't want to use the word deactivate, but tune down essentially. Because sometimes what can happen with certain people is these centers can be wide, almost like blown open, where you need to do counter poses to almost close them back off. So that's how I work with it throughout the year in my membership. I look at like, where's the moon? Are we manifesting? Are we coming to a climax peak moment? What sign is the moon in? So what flavor does this session have? And then what planet represents that zodiac sign? And then how can we connect it to our yoga? So how can we bring in the chakra systems and work with that and feel that in our body through breath work, through yoga, through meditation? That's where these chakra systems kind of come into play. So I'm using so many different systems, but they're all interconnected. And I'm hoping that example kind of gave like a little bit more clarity as to like how absolutely. I work with it all.
It totally does. Yeah, absolutely. Is nutrition also part of the equation too when you're trying to create a certain level of energy or tone it down, as you were saying?
Totally. So again, I tune into those chakra systems. There's specific colors, flavors, smells that all connect to these systems, as well as I integrate that holistic nutrition background to support you. So sometimes what will happen is it might be like a solar plexus focused yoga session. There's a lot we can do for our solar plexus. The solar plexus is that area just above the navel, but below the low ribs. So you can think of like digestive fire, heating things up, spicy foods, yellow foods, pineapples, right? Pineapples are known for their digestive enzymes. So there's so many different little things I can sneak in there that people wouldn't always like connect the dots to, but it makes sense once it's all laid out in this like framework. And with this, so I work with this in membership. We do like new and full moon ceremonies. So I combined all of this knowledge. I do moon guidebooks. We do like a moon yoga ceremony. And then I also tune in to the equinoxes and the solstices. So that's when I also integrate a lot of that holistic nutrition, because we should be eating seasonally. We should be changing how we approach, our workouts, or how we approach the types of food we eat, or the types of method that we cook our food with. So that's where that aspect kind of comes into play a little bit more as well. It's just that seasonal change from, fall to winter and winter to spring and so on.
So everything you're describing is Ayurveda, like to the T.
Ooh,
So Richacharya is the seasonal, and it's all about preparing for the junction of the seasons, right? So if you're going from spring to summer, there's a specific khichdi, which is a mung bean meal that you have for all the junction of the seasons, and it really helps reset the digestion. I love this. Yeah, this is,
yes.
I love it. It's very, with every cycle, right? It just speaks Ayurveda to me. It's brilliant. I love it.
It's beautiful. And so as a guy here, right? I want to ask the ladies. There's a, I don't know how to put it, but there's definitely something. For example, you work specifically with women, and it makes sense, right? And we're talking about, for example, the menstrual cycle and that kind of stuff, right? So my question would be, there is a lot of sort of, I don't know if to call it female energy, but a lot of it is informed through the experiences of the biology of a female, right? And so it's really cool, but this also applies to men as well, right?
100%.
And so maybe men manifest differently, some sort of these cycles, or they act or behave differently. But this is something that affects everybody, right? Can you go a little bit into how men can also benefit from something like this?
So I teeter-tottered so much on making this open to everyone and anyone.
Right.
There was a few different factors to make me just go towards women, but men can totally benefit from this. My partner loves to integrate all this knowledge that I'm kind of like speaking on right now. And he always says like, men need this too. And I totally agree. There's like a time and a place for that. I just don't know if I'm the person to birth that into this world yet. But men and women, there's a yin and a yang in all of us.
Right.
And we all have feminine and masculine in us, and some more dominant than others. I'm almost forgetting what your specific question was, but the long of the short is, yes, men definitely need this. And I feel like there is this, resurgence of people, women, everyone wanting this masculine energy. And I'm trying to find the words that I'm looking for. It's divine masculine. We need a lot more men to be stepping into their divine masculine. We talk about divine feminine and getting women into their bodies and stuff like that. But, divine masculinity needs to be happening in this world as well. So I'm not sure if I answered that question.
Yeah, you totally do. And I'm really interested because, as Laura knows, I facilitate men's groups, right? Okay. And so a lot of men find it very difficult sometimes to find a vehicle through which they can express their emotions, first of all, but also be able to see the world from a different perspective, right? And I think, what you're talking about, Laura's talking about, it's such a great thing because it's not linear and so rational and so guided by this sort of, sharp intellect, but it's more of something that you can experience, right? And so this is very helpful, and that's why I asked, because a lot of men want to be able to explore other ways that they can approach or see the world, right, and experience the world, but they're afraid that one, Again, it won't be scientific, whatever that means. We can talk about that. And second, that it is usually associated with feminine, energy, right? And nothing could be more further from the truth. I mean, we all came from woman, right? I mean, anybody that's born into this world, but also Mother Earth. And it's not a dominance of the sort of the female energy. It's just simply it's simply a way that the universe is ordered, right? And if we tap into that, we can definitely, it can make it easier for us. But kind of going off on a tangent there, I wanted to ask you about the concept of mirror. But before I do that, I want you to, because you mentioned that, in the fall, there's a transition now that's coming up. You have an event that's going to take place for this part of the year?
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of harness this energy. So we obviously have the fall equinox coming up, which is so exciting because fall is my favorite season. Yeah. But we also have that solar eclipse and it's a new moon coming up in September as well. So I'm doing kind of this like integrative journey through this time period. So it's a 4-day event. It's 100% completely free, but it's going to allow people to kind of understand this framework and feel it in their body. So my main goal for this is getting people in their body and opening up to how does the moon actually affect them in their world, in their life, in their psyche. So it's a complete 4-day journey that I would love to have your audience fully come into. I can share the link with you. It's just through my website, but it's a really powerful activation that's happening on this solar eclipse just before the fall equinox. If you think about what the fall equinox is, it's an initiation into a new season. New moons are already an initiation into a new cycle. And then, like I mentioned earlier, that solar eclipse just amplifies everything by 100. So it's coming at such a perfect time. I feel like summer can be kind of all over the place for people too. So it's such a great way of grounding back down, touching dirt, touching the earth, and tuning back into themselves. So, we're going to be doing things like meditation, specific yoga practices, incorporating those different chakras, journal work, shadow work. There's going to be that community aspect. So it's going to be a bunch of people with like-minded perspectives or interests kind of coming together to help each other out. And I'm really excited about it. So it's kind of like my first little baby launch, I guess, before my membership fully opens up. But it's just to give people a really good taste of what they could be having year round. And I'm harnessing this super exciting kind of like next chapter, that solar eclipse energy, that new moon energy, and the fall equinox, which is just coming at such a perfect time.
Love it.
Awesome. Yeah. And we're going to attach all that information, links and dates and so on, all the details. So viewers can definitely tap into that. You mentioned shadow work and mirror, right? And so for those who are not familiar with it, if you don't mind explaining that, it sounds really cool, actually.
Yeah, of course. So it's kind of where the deep journaling comes in. I find that mirror work's not really journaling, but you can totally integrate it with journaling. And it's funny, actually, as we opened the Zoom, I have this mirror that I use for my mirror work. It's just this cute little old antique handheld mirror, but mirror work is spooky. If you haven't done it for the first time, when you do it, you're like, what is this? Like, you're going to break eye contact with yourself. Like, so many things are going to come up. I'm just speaking from experience, honestly, but this has been the story for a lot of people. It's so powerful when you can lock eyes with yourself. Mm-hmm. Totally. There's no hiding. You can't run away from yourself.
Yeah.
And so what you can do with this mirror work is you can reprogram your subconscious. So as you're looking at yourself, it's interesting how humans have like a negativity bias. You're going to start to look at things on your face. You're like, what is that hair doing there? What is this doing there? I don't like how my eyes look. Whatever the case might be, your things are going to potentially pop up as you look at yourself in the mirror. And there's so many different ways of working with this. So again, throughout the year, there's these different moon phases, moon cycles, zodiac signs that they're kind of moving through that allow us to tap into these specific aspects that we can then work through. Even just saying affirmations in the mirror could be a beautiful thing that we integrate in cycles and seasons for one of the moon cycles. That makes sense. So affirmations are positive statements that you're stating to yourself as true in the present moment. I am beautiful. I own this car and it's so fun to drive because I don't know. I'm just trying to give an example there, but mirror work is so profound. When you lock eyes with yourself, there's no hiding. You're not speaking it out to nothing. You're speaking it to yourself as if it's already happened. And it's a practice. It takes a lot of work. It's like anything, yoga, studying science in university. It's anything. It's a practice, and it's an art form. And it's truly terrifying, but it's been such a pivotal thing for me in my journey and so many others. So I definitely integrate a lot of mirror work throughout cycles and seasons, and that membership, I highly recommend it.
Wow, that's so cool. I mean, and I think I mentioned to you earlier that in philosophy, it's the mirror. It's a metaphor for inner work, right? And that's exactly it. I have to say, I mean, this is it's. Have you ever stood in front of the mirror and really look at yourself? So the first reaction we have is, okay, we want to rush, right? At least with me, right? So just based on my experience,
You do.
I want to make sure that what's that?
You do.
Well, when I say rush is, I don't want to make eye contact with myself. I'm afraid of that, right? And I think most of us are. So so I can spend an hour checking my hair, before I get out the house. Is this right? My top, what I'm wearing, and all that kind of stuff. But it's very superficial, and it's almost like avoiding. Just like we do in other aspects of our inner work, we avoid ourselves, right? The inner dialogue it's a really good example. People are afraid of having that conversation with themselves, right? So they loop into the same thing. What am I going to have for dinner, and things like that, right? But it's for me, I like you're totally dead on, because I've spent there have been at least 2 or 3 times in my life where I sit in front of me and think, like, who the fuck are you, right? Like, I'm looking at this guy, and I even look at my face and almost looks different from what I perceive it throughout the day, walking throughout the day, right? As we're walking throughout the day, we're thinking, okay, people see me like this. And when I look in the mirror, I might even match, what they're seeing. But to really look at this one person standing in front of you, it's really cool, but it's really scary, but it's really powerful at the same time. So I love the way you explain it, because it seems like a simple thing to do. It's not like you have to know different poses or anything like that. All you need to do is just basically, stand there and take the time, right?
Center yourself, tap into your breath, maybe make some sounds, maybe do some movement first, get that anxious energy out of the body. You want to be kind of centered with it. And then once you have a mirror, you want to be alone too. It's kind of like a private practice. You don't want distractions. You don't want other people looking at you in the mirror. And it's nice to have something either that you can hold or that you can sit in front of. So not your bathroom mirror where you're kind of like hanging over the countertop. It's a practice. It's a ritual almost. You go in it with a specific intention. And even if that intention is just to hold eye contact for 30 seconds, you'd be amazed at how hard that is. At least for myself, if I set a timer, I'll start thinking about something and I'll start looking left and right, or I'll start looking at my teeth or my nose. I'm like, whoa, I just got so distracted from this one simple practice of staring at myself in the eyes. So there's so many different ways of kind of like working with it, but making it a little bit of a ritual with yourself, especially if you're working with a mantra or an affirmation currently, so powerful to speak that to yourself in the present tense, locking eyes as if it's 100% true, because it is.
Yeah, there's something very powerful about that, because when you look at a movie, you get lost in the movie, you're looking at a screen. So that is your screen, right? You're looking at yourself. It's very powerful.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that the whole analogy of the screen, because that's how we're living our lives, basically in front of a screen, pretty much all day. Yeah. And but again, it's getting away from ourselves, right? It's really interesting how people fear themselves. I mean, that's the one thing that's been for thousands of years. I mean, again, from philosophy, the one thing that's probably the most important thing you can do in philosophy, aside from understanding all the other technicalities of it and the other theories, is know thyself, right? Like it all goes down to that maxim, right? And technology and entertainment, so many aspects of culture and our daily lives are meant to take us away from it, right? And that, again,
100%.
going back to nature and ancient traditions, that will do the opposite, right? These practices like yoga, like martial arts in my case, breath work, are doing the opposite. Instead of taking you away from yourself, they're actually trying to bring you back in, right? That's so cool.
Yeah, I was just going to touch too on the shadow work too, because I didn't touch on that. I was just talking about the mirror work, but shadow work, they go hand in hand, because you'll be amazed at how many little flaws or self-limiting beliefs will come up when you lock eyes with yourself. So shadow work is just, it's journaling, but to that shadow side of yourself. So the shadow side of yourself is those subconscious thoughts, those limiting beliefs, those things that are quote unquote negative or inappropriate or shouldn't be spoken out loud or should be hidden away. That's what you journal on. Why are you angry? Why are you craving this? Why are you thinking that? And you just deep dive into that area, and obviously having specific prompts and specific frameworks to work in with that is crucial. And that's, again, what I do in membership, especially during times of the year when it can really, really help, when we really need to be working through some of that deeper shit. Tapping into that is quite profound. And if you get a good cry session out of it, I mean, that's therapeutic right there. So Absolutely. It's just tapping into that darker aspect of oneself.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So journaling, that's definitely something that can be very conducive to, to getting to know the many aspects of yourself. How much of that do you use in your teachings and your practice? Or
a lot. I love it. So with the membership, there's always going to be a journaling component. Journaling has been so amazing for me because I love to create. I love to write. I love to make little stories up, but I'm a terrible speller. My grammar is awful. If anyone texts me or has talked to me online, they'll know. But I love it. And it's such a fun thing to put pen to paper. It's so different than typing, and it's so different than texting. It gets you again in your body, gets your eyes connecting to something so much simpler than an instant L or an instant I. So there's something so grounding and nourishing to it. So in my personal practice, I use it all the time when I'm manifesting. If I'm, I don't even know, setting intentions or have to do a little brain dump because I'm feeling anxious, that's one of my go-to things. And it's been such a game changer for me.
Yeah, journaling is so powerful, right? I do the same. I'm similar to you. I'm a creator. I'm always writing, thinking and writing. And it's amazing because it's a way to also open the floodgates to even more ideas, right? So as soon as you put the pen down, you start to think of all these ideas, right? So it's really cool. It really opens up that creativity. Our ThinkWell podcast here it's always been about wellness, right? And so we look at things like the politics. What's the role of politics in wellness? We can make an argument with that. We talked about puppies too, dogs. So you are a dog parent. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you see that relationship with dogs and how they can contribute to our wellness?
Oh my gosh, I could cry just thinking about that question.
Right? That's how we all feel, right?
So I have 3 dogs.
Wow.
One is a rescue. His name is Chimpy. Chimpkin is his first full name. He's a rescue from Turkey. He is just, I swear he's my soul animal. He was divinely sent down to me. He is a snuggle bug, but he's also so playful. If I'm crying, he'll just come up and rest. He just knows what to do. And he's just such a gentle soul. So he has added years to my life in a positive sense of
That's so
just
cool.
Nourishing me when I'm feeling ungrounded. I love him so much. And then I have a 14-year-old dog who I got when I was in grade 10 as a birthday present. And he is a lab poodle mix.
Oh, wow.
And his name's Kona. And
so
he's
cool.
just a swimmer. Because we live on a lake here at the cottage I live in, if we let him out without a leash on, he will legitimately swim for 8 hours straight. And I'm not even lying.
Wow.
He'll come up to shore to pee. He does that. And then he'll jump back into the, off the dock into the water.
Wow.
And we'll just swim laps. It's wild. And then I have our smallest dog is actually a female cane corso. So we always wanted a big dog. We always wanted a tough, cool guard dog. And she is complete, like, she's actually a good guard dog in the sense that she's like an alarm system. Like, she does like growl and bark, but she's like such a sweetheart. Like, she is like, she's so good. Her name's Ducky. So I feel like that just explains her personality. Like, she's just like so docile and so loving. And yeah, they contribute to my life in so many different ways. Of course, there's those like struggles of when they're puppies and you have to go through that like little newborn stage where there's like the nipping or maybe the yappy barking at night or all those little like trials and tribulations that a dog comes with. But I literally wouldn't change anything in the world for those. Like, I love those dogs.
Oh yeah, you're preaching to the choir, right? So we love dogs too. At one point we had 4 little ones. So that was pretty cool. And now they've gotten old and passed away, but now we have one rescue as well. She's from the streets of Mexico, apparently. But yeah, she's such a great dog. So you did a yoga class yesterday.
Yeah, so every Thursday I teach a class. I volunteer actually, and I guide a class, and majority of the participants there's a lady with a walker, anxiety, so they have their own issues. And so Pumpkin,
that's the name of her dog, by the way.
she has anxiety if we're both gone. And so I decided, George was out, I decided I'm going to bring Pumpkin with me. So I took her to the class and she was so calm. But it was really interesting. I noticed when one of the ladies were struggling, she actually, because we were trying to do the tree pose, and Pumpkin stood right next to the leg that had to come up to help support her. And obviously she didn't call her over. And there was another point where throughout the class, one of the participants, they hurt their back, but she didn't say anything. And so all of a sudden, Pumpkin, she was sitting beside me, went right up to her and just stood right beside her and looked at me. And I asked her, "Are you okay?" "Oh, I just, I think I hurt my back. I heard it on Tuesday and I think I reheard it." So it was really interesting to see that. Like, Pumpkin just knew who to go to.
That's incredible.
And she just brought so much joy to everyone. Like, everyone was just so happy to see her. So, yeah, there's so much love there.
Yeah.
So much love.
Yeah. I mean, I shared too last when we did that episode, I was experiencing anxiety for quite some time, many years ago. And it was thanks to my dogs that, I was able to recover rather quickly because the emotional support that they provide is unparalleled, right? It's just something that it's hard to describe. If you're not a dog person, right? It's hard to describe it for somebody that doesn't have that experience. But, of course, you know. But yeah, interesting. I have another question for you.
Yes.
So this is kind of consistent with what we were trying to do. What is the role of things like astrology or I guess, we can even say ancient traditions in wellness today?
So what is the role?
Yeah. How can it contribute to our wellness today, I guess? As many people are so hung up on the, scientific, evidence. So if you mention something about the moon, for example, they're going to challenge it where, well, I haven't seen any research or anything like that. And just because there isn't a lot of research, or at least that we know of, that doesn't mean it's not something that's valid and it's actually doing, making a big contribution to our wellness. So how do you see ancient traditions and things like astrology that benefit our wellness in general?
Totally. Well, a way that I work with astrology a lot too is through manifestation. And so much studies have actually come out on the quantum field. And the quantum field was the woo-woo back in the day when people didn't understand that they can actually call in the life that they want. So when people back in the day were talking about manifesting, and, I think the book, The Secret, is kind of like everyone's gateway into manifesting.
Right.
It wasn't fully understood, and it's still not fully understood to what capacity the human consciousness can actually create the life that we want to see in front of us. And astrology, for me, is one of those parameters or frameworks that you can kind of utilize and tap into. So even if it's not true, even if you don't believe I'm a Pisces or my sun sign is this or whatever the case might be, it's still giving you grounded framework to tap into these different areas and aspects of self so that you can manifest your dream life. And that's how I kind of work with that one. And I think that answers your question a little bit, but also it brings me back to what I said at the beginning of the podcast is it's so interesting that these ancient traditions continuously come back. They're never gone. They're always resurfacing. There's always going to be this like thread that is woven through society and through people as humans that we need to tap back into it. So even if the science doesn't necessarily back it, it's still going to resurface over and over and over again. We're cyclical in nature.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's my perspective on it. I don't think science always has to 100% prove anything right or wrong. I think if your human mind can understand how you personally can work with it, that's truly all that matters.
I love that. And that's great because, science is just a tool, right? A tool for us to be able to advance our knowledge, right? To be able to test hypotheses and stuff like that. But I always say it is not the job of ancient traditions to demonstrate that there's scientific validity to them. It is science. If science is interested in finding what those contributions are to our health or whatever it is, then it's the role of scientists to do that. But it's not the other way around. These traditions have been around for thousands of years, and as you said, they're always there. It's just a matter of people paying attention and tapping into them. So I wanted to ask you about breath work. This is an important thing, and of course, it's something that is very popular today, right? I know in men's groups, breath work is super important. There have been some influencers like Wim Hof that have popularized, breath work, make it kind of glamorous and cool. But how do you view it, and how do you incorporate it into your practice?
Yeah, breathwork has always been a really funny one for me because for years and years and years and years and years of my life, I feel like I was a very shallow breather. So only breathing up in the collarbones and in the chest. I think this is zone 1. Mm-hmm. You guys are familiar with the zones of breathing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think this is zone 1. Zone 2 is around your heart center, and zone 3 is all the way down, like in the belly area, right? So sending that inhale all the way into the belly, allowing it to expand, coming up into your ribs, up into the chest, up into the collarbones, and then fully exhaling. I don't think I took one of those breaths in for years of my life until yoga came in, and that's where I was introduced to breath work. And of course, since then, I've integrated it into every single one of my yoga sessions because breath, movement, and sound are such key ways of grounding yourself into your body and also into your nervous system. So tapping into that rest and digest state to get people to focus, right? So breath work for me, it's such a challenge, if I'm being honest, but it's something that I teach. So I myself as the teacher sometimes need to point the finger back at myself because it's an ongoing, fully inhale into the belly and fully exhale navel to spine. It's a practice, and it's honestly so challenging. So I want to learn more. I kind of want to dive even deeper into this world of breathwork because I know there's so many different methods. There's so many different strategies and ways you can kind of implement it in specific even yoga classes or styles of yoga, for example. But yeah, it fascinates me. And it's something that I think a lot of people will benefit from once they feel it in their body and just notice that difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. There's so much to breath work that it's not just breathing, right? And intentionally breathing, but there's methods and ways of approaching it, right? So when we talk about, breath work and we talk about, practicing yoga, for example, we know that it has its benefits for both our mental health and physical health, right? But what's the place for spirituality in a practice like yoga?
Oh, I think it's actually connecting to your intuition. Mm-hmm. Those thoughts that you might shut down quicker when you're on the go and moving around. It's those thoughts that can kind of resurface. I think that is what meditation's for, right? It's that void of silence, of stillness, and then those insights can come to you, and then that clarity can come to you. And I feel like that's what spirituality is all about, is being okay in the silence, being okay in that void period of your life, because that's where the creation is. That's where the initiation is. That's where the change is going to like facilitate from. So with yoga, with breath work, again, breath, movement, sound, it gets you right into your body. It gets you grounded into your nervous system. So you're not in that fight or flight mode. You can tune in, you can get that clarity and finally feel centered, so that those thoughts and those issues or those things or that whatever has to come to the surface.
Right.
And then it's up to the individual whether they want to see it, right? Whether they want to then work with it, or then, you know, that's interesting that came up for me. Like, don't show judgment to it, but let's take note and like, let's be interested in what that is for me.
With yoga, I mean, this is a practice that, of course, that's something that's part of your daily routine, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been practicing yoga for quite some time. And even when we were sick with COVID, I was still practicing my Palmatasana series in bed. So I'm curling my toes and, you know, because we were both so sick. But yeah, yoga is very important in my life. And most people say they can't start their day without their cup of coffee. I definitely need
Guilty
my
as
yoga.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too.
And I asked this question to both of you because I know all three of us can agree. I practice in martial arts. There's a spiritual connection as well, right? I can tap into my spiritual existence, if you will, when I practice. But a lot of people would have a hard time with that. And I think it's simply because when we're thinking of spirituality, we're thinking of a couple of things. We're thinking religious experience, right? Or we're thinking, oh my God, like, you know, I'm doing some breath work and I'm going to start hallucinating and almost like a drug-induced kind of thing, right? And it's not necessarily that. I mean, if you get to that point, that's great, congratulations. But spirituality, I guess, can be defined in many ways, right?
Yeah.
And so you kind of gave us an idea of how you would define that spirituality. It always goes back to, from what I'm guessing from what you said, is it goes back to that inner self, right? Mm-hmm. To be able to bring you back to understanding yourself a little bit better, right?
I was just going to say, and bringing it back to being okay in the silence.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are ways of doing that. What would you advise to somebody that comes to you and is seeking that silence? How would you advise them or guide them to embrace that silence?
It honestly would depend on what's going on, but this is so many people these days, right? We're so out of our bodies, we're in our phones, we're on technology, we're in front of screens, we're not connecting our feet to the ground. Mm-hmm. So what I would first do is, ideally in a perfect world, I would take them outside, we'd take our shoes off and we'd step on the grass, we'd step on the ground, mm-hmm. or get into some water, get into a big body of water, ground their body. I would also walk them through a yoga practice, move the body, start facilitating some movement, start facilitating some connection to their breath, to the movement. And then what yoga was originally made for is then to be able to hold that shavasana, that meditative state, so that you can experience the silence. So if that's what they're looking for, we do have to kind of get them into their body, get them grounded, move some energy around, move some stuck, stagnant things that are going on in the body to then facilitate the silence. Because I would imagine if someone's in a heightened state of anxiety, of stress, of anger, whatever, and you try and get them to lay on the ground, they might like start convulsing. They might it's just going to be such an awful, irritating experience for them. Such
a foreign
We have
concept.
to get the energy moved. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. That's interesting, right? Because through movement, right, you can get to that state of silence, as you put it, right? That is so cool. Mm-hmm. It's a state of being calm and quiet, right? Which is so difficult to attain, but it is through movement that you're able to achieve that, right?
Totally. And even in my yoga classes recently, so I work at a couple different studios in the town that I live in, a resort, and I get to play around with these different aspects and components and Qigong integrated into my practices, and all these different things. I get to kind of experiment, which is really fun. But I've been doing some somatic practices of just shaking out the limbs, shaking the hands, shaking the wrists, maybe shaking the chest, beating the chest, like all these different really primal movements that, again, help to get this excess energy, anxiety, stress, trauma out of the body. It's a really great way for people to even start their day if they're feeling anxious, is shake it off. Like, I feel like that's where that saying kind of came from, and people say it, but we don't actually do it. Like, oh, just shake it off. But okay, how do you shake it off if you don't actually facilitate some sort of movement? So that's been really fun for me in my practices too, is just integrating all these different little snippets from other worlds of these ancient traditions into yoga.
I started to integrate a little bit of in Qigong, they also have the tapping. So we do tapping, and it really helps invigorate everyone who participates. Yes. And for some, it brings up a lot too, right? And that's something that I always like to tell people when it's their first yoga class, it's okay if things come up, because chances are they will, especially in Savasana, right? Because you're moving the body after, a pranayama, whether, it's Nadi Shodhana where you're calming, the nerves, and then you get into Shavasana, it's a lot for them, right? So I always tell them, it's okay if you want to cry, let it out. I've had that happen. I'm sure you have too, where people just, the floodgates, which it's beautiful. Totally. It's beautiful, right? It's just going deeper and really connecting to yourself, and again, being loving and kind to yourself, because yes, there's a lot of things we can self-criticize and judge about ourselves, but just seeing it in a very loving light, I think, is really important.
Yeah, I love that you said that, loving light. So we're really critical in this podcast all the time. We're wellness, I guess in general, we can describe ourselves as wellness practitioners and teachers and coaches, whatever. This is our space. But at the same time, I feel that it's been hijacked by many forces, marketing being one of them, right? But also the latest trends in fitness and nutrition, and most of them are, instead of being loving, they're actually more fear-inducing than anything else, right? They're making you kind of react to. So I even today I still see that people see exercise as a form of punishment, right? For their bad behavior in the kitchen, right? The way they're eating and so on. And they even see nutrition as something that is a minus and plus and minus kind of equation, right? So I'm wondering what your take is on that, and I think it's part of also of your transformation that, you got to the point where you saw the latest trends in wellness and all that. It's not being really conducive to that holistic, approach and that we want to get to, right?
Yes. There's so many things in life like that. Like being a nutritionist for so many years now, it's been 7+ years that I've been working as a holistic nutritionist. And there's been so many trends that come up. And so I think, for some individuals that are that all or nothing personality, they can really jump on something like that and see success in it work. And I feel like that's amazing for them. But be super cautious of these trends that come out. Keto is not for everyone. The paleo diet is not for everyone. There is no one size fits all, especially when it comes to nutrition. And I almost feel like spirituality might be the same. When I first started my journey of being in this health world, I started as a nutritionist, and I literally remember saying to myself, I'll never meditate. I'll never focus on that side. I'll never see it. Like, I don't want to. Like, I literally had that conversation with myself, and I was like, I'm going to focus on nutrition, and I'm going to create change through nutrition. I'm not even going to look at that. And now look where I'm at. I don't know. Like, it's such a journey, but I think people need these little doorways to be opened, right? So mine was nutrition. Maybe someone else's it's fitness. Maybe someone else's it's starting with meditation and getting really quiet for a while. And then they tune into, oh, my body actually feels better with this sort of food or moving in this sort of way. And I think for each individual person, it's going to be a little bit of a journey. That's why they call it, life's journey, because it's going to be so unique to the individual.
100%. Man, it's this has been great. We're almost approaching our final minutes, and I think we need more time, right? So we're gonna, if you're okay, we're gonna get you to come back so you can talk to us a little bit more about what you do. It's fascinating. But I wanted to circle back to the events that you have coming up. If you can give us some more details, also how people can get in touch with you, where they can find you.
Yeah, awesome. So my membership is going to be opening to the public September 25th. So to lead up to this, I'm doing that 4-day event around harnessing the energy of the new moon, solar eclipse in Virgo, as well as welcoming people into the fall equinox. So it's going to be just such a nice, great initiation, a nice hug, a nice guide, facilitating you through this big pivotal change. So it's 100% free. It's a 4-day event. Some content's going to be live. Some's going to be pre-recorded. It's all going to be online. So it's super accessible. My website is leslieweir.ca. You can also reach out to me, info@leslieweir.ca. And then my Instagram handle is Leslie Weir Nutrition. If you wanted to reach out or just connect with me there, I'm going to be opening it up on my website so people can join that 4-day free initiation. And then hopefully I will see you all online.
Wonderful,
Absolutely.
wonderful. So we're going to put all this information, I think it's, here under the bottom part of the video. One question before we let you go. So again, we talk about wellness. What's your definition of wellness, I guess?
Oof. How much longer do we have now? Wellness. I like I keep saying, I think it's so individual. I think someone's wellness practice could be their morning cup of coffee or their morning cup of tea. I think it could be someone's prayer at the end of the day or prayer before a meal. I think wellness is just allowing for that stillness, for yourself to tune in. And regardless of what that activity, that ritual, that thing is, yoga, journaling, lighting a candle, that is your wellness. I think harnessing whatever works for you so that you can tune into how are you feeling, how are you breathing, how are you doing, having that internal conversation. I think to me, that's what I would define as wellness.
It's beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, and you're right. It's so individual, right? It's subjective, right, to people's experiences. Okay, one more question. So somebody comes to you, they want to work with you, and they're confused. There's a lot of confusing information out there. They really need your help, but they don't know where to start, and they really wanted to start with, one simple step, if you will. How would you put them on that path?
Honestly, I'd probably pull up their birth chart.
Nice.
My membership's not like crazy astrology based, but it does have that as one of its backbones. And I feel like it gives people such a big blueprint of their entire life that they can work with. And then Mercury goes retrograde. How is that going to affect them? I think it's just such a good framework to start working with. It'll also give me really great insights to see how are they going to communicate with me? How do they show love? How do they understand? How do they interpret things, through their Mercury planet placement? What is their emotional body? So I actually looked up both of yours before starting this podcast because I wanted to know, what I was getting myself into. And George, I think you're a Sagittarius sun and Sag moon.
Right.
Got that correct? And then I believe, Laura, you were a Pisces sun and Aries moon.
Oh.
Did I get that right? Have you looked up your birth chart before?
I have.
Is it?
I've got something different, but that's
you get?
Interesting. I had Libra rising sun, and the rising moon, I think, in Cancer also. But I could be wrong. This was a long time ago, so that's interesting.
Yeah, because you have to be precise, I guess, with the
yeah.
with the dates and all
I'm
that.
so intrigued.
So assuming that you...
I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Yes.
Okay.
And maybe when I come on next, because I definitely want to come onto this podcast again, we can talk about like tarot cards and how they kind of relate to this whole
man.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
What a note to
Maybe a
end
little
on.
sneak preview.
Yeah,
I love it.
Suspense. Yeah, that's a whole another conversation. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Love it.
Leslie, it's been such a pleasure. It's great to see you again. I really was looking forward to this moment. And so I'm really happy we were able to do it. And please come back another time. We'd love to have you so we can talk about tarot cards and so on. And
thank you for all you do and what you're offering. We're certainly going to attend that 4-day and check it out.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm speaking
that's
for both of us.
That's a must
I
for
definitely
everybody.
will.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
Thank you for including. That's what I've been thinking of doing too. It's something that we need to do. So
yeah, it sounds amazing. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Leslie, thank you for sharing all of your wealth of knowledge. We look forward to attending, and we definitely want everyone to attend the free event September 25th. You have so much to offer. I love everything that you're working with, working in alignment with the cycles. So for all the women who are interested, please reach out to Leslie. We have all of her information there, so please connect with her. And thanks again for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.